So we've got to do the dreaded AI update. As you guys know, I spent a lot of time in the last couple of years on this channel getting curious about it, talking about it, of course, really making sure you guys are all aware, making sure that I'm aware of the potential threats that this technology might bring to us, especially those of us that are working in the production music library world, but also the promises and the upsides, because this technology is definitely going to be delivering both to us. So for those of you that are getting serious about Sync this year, maybe you're following along with us with Sync Focus. Maybe you're concerned or can want to know maybe what my point of view is. I've gotten a couple of messages in the last few weeks asking, are there any big updates? Should I be more worried in 2025, less worried? Where are we with this technology? Well, I appreciate you guys checking in and trusting me with some updates here. I unfortunately today would have to be honest and say there's not a huge amount of updates to report upon. As you know, last year we had these massive lawsuits levied against Udio and Suno, which were two primary kind of most disruptive generative AI music companies that were, allegedly, seemingly scraping copyright protected music and probably not getting permission or not compensating publishers and writers and artists for taking that data and training their AI models. So right now, there's massive lawsuits basically pending. They're in the process, and they have not come to a resolution. So we're about 7-8 months into that, and we don't know as of today how that's going to shake out, whether or not there's going to be a settlement, whether or not there's going to have a trial, how things are going to go there. Those lawsuits certainly are going to be kind of the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, as to where this technology might go for music. And whether or not future AI companies or Suno and Udio will be able to continue to just train their models off of publicly available data on the internet without consent, without licensing it. So unfortunately, no update there. Can't tell you. Where do we stand in terms of sync licensing? Again, can't really tell you. When this first bubbled up about 2 years ago, I made a prediction to say, I think this technology will, in one way or another, creep into our space for maybe better or for worse within 2 to 5 years. So as we come up to around March, April, that starts the 2-year mark from when I made that prediction. And I think we're kind of seeing that play out. So we've seen a couple of instances of AI technology be used for the better for us. Recently, Source Audio revealed and made an announcement that they're partnering with an AI company to allow people to create stems of any piece of production music within a particular Source Audio catalog on the fly using AI, which would mean that if that's your track, you would still be getting the credit. Your production music library would still be getting the publishing credits, and it's still 100% keeping human beings at the forefront of that technology. It's just allowing somebody who might need just your bass stem or just need a couple of the instruments kind of separated out from the main mix that you didn't necessarily provide, and they're going to get access to that, and then you would still get the placement. Just so you guys are aware, whether or not your full track gets placed in a TV show or it's just the bass or just the bass and drums, it doesn't matter. You're still going to be getting the same amount of income. The only thing that is going to change the amount of royalties you're going to get is the type of placement. So if your full track is placed in the background, that's going to result in a smaller amount of royalties as opposed to your track being like, let's say, the theme or the prominent featured placement, or let's say an artist is performing in the scene and they're performing your track. They're lip syncing essentially to your track. You'd be getting a lot more for that. But if it's all background instrumental or with vocals, it doesn't necessarily make a difference. So that's what's really good for us, is that we're going to be able to potentially allow our editors and supervisors, people that are going to be potentially getting access to our music, just more flexibility with what they need. And I can see this coming in a future point where we probably won't need to be supplying cut downs, alt mixes, stems, all that good stuff, because I'm imagining there's going to be plugins added to Source Audio and other, cataloging services like that will use AI to generate whatever alternative version or stemmed out version or alt mix that is needed by a client. Now, that day is not today, so you still need to do your alt mixes, still got to produce your stems, still got to do all that kind of stuff. But you can see kind of the future trend of this happening, where it's going to free us up from having to deliver those, and it'll just allow a client to have more customized access to whatever they need with our music. So I think that's a big, big win. That's a great plus for our column for this technology. Of course, some other developments happening recently are a little more concerning. Suno and Udio both now, if you type in anything that has to do with cinematic score music, they're now able to generate music that is sounding a little bit more like production music. Now, where did they get that data? What catalog did they point their scrapers at to get that? That still remains to be seen. I have my suspicions, as do you. And some of it sounds pretty okay. Some of it's It's more like kind of in the stock music, generic, royalty-free kind of sounding stuff. But that's certainly something that I have always been keeping my eye on in terms of that's obviously our potential threat. Asuno or Udio making pop songs that people are sharing on their Instagram and their social media accounts. It's not necessarily something that's going to be creeping directly into what we do, specifically for those of you that are focusing on TV and film, because one thing that's still our saving grace is the copyright law infrastructure. Okay, for right now, and this still hasn't changed. We're still no updates to this, but music that is 100% generated by AI does not qualify for copyright protection. So production music libraries do not want AI music. That's still the case. And that trend is definitely getting stronger and stronger. If you're using AI tools at all, I don't care if you're making vocals, you're crafting something, you're using AI to make your melodies or chord progressions, you need to be transparent with your production music library. If you are playing with fire and you're playing with some sort of a tool that may or may not have copyright protection for what you're generating with it, you are jeopardizing your relationship with that library. You're jeopardizing their legal status. You don't want to do that. You don't want to cause some problems and get yourself blacklisted out of this business extremely fast. So make sure you're being transparent. And honestly, right now, because we're in the Wild West, nobody really knows how this is going to play out. It's best for me. My advice is play safe. Do not use AI tools for generating new ideas, generating music, generating vocals, any of that kind of stuff, even lyrics. Because you don't know what the data is. We don't really know necessarily where these companies are getting their data. Is it copyright protected stuff? Are you making sure, are they making sure that they're absolutely not generating something that could be copyright infringing? I don't know if we're getting that assurance. You're sort of playing with fire there. So definitely just word to the wise, I wouldn't do it. But certainly for us, because AI music, generated music, generally does not qualify for copyright protection, libraries aren't going to want to touch it, and TV clients usually are not going to touch that thing with a 10-foot pole, because that is potentially massive legal liability for them. Now, again, we're still in the early phase of this. We don't know where this is all going to play out. There could be major changes to the copyright laws this year, maybe in the couple of months. I don't know. And of course, if that changes, that's going to directly affect us either one way or the other. So, but with all this said, without being able to give you guys a really maybe helpful update on the AI thing, because we're still in the middle of it, I do want to give you guys essentially some advice in terms of, for those of you that are maybe on the fence right now, of you're considering sync licensing, but this AI stuff is so concerning that it's maybe preventing you from getting really serious and doubling down, or maybe even participating with something like what we're doing in Sync Academy with Sync Focus 2025, keeping your head in the game, staying productive, making music, and getting closer to hopefully your sync goals by the end of the year. Here's what I would say. If you are for sure dedicated to this, you feel strongly, kind of in your heart, in your gut, in your bones, you've got this kind of deep conviction that you feel like you've got something to offer this business. You are definitely creating original music. You've got a voice. You've got something to say. You really feel deep down that you've got a real solid shot with Sync based on your talents, based on your work ethic, based on your ability to dedicate yourself to this industry. You need to jump into this with 2 feet and not worry about AI at all, because AI is going to do what AI is going to do. It's either going to not affect us at all, or it's going to creep in little cracks, in little crevices throughout our industry, and we need to be aware of that. Or it's going to come in and wipe out everything that we do and completely replace us with generative AI music. And I can't tell you the future, and nobody else online can tell you the future. Nobody's going to know that. But if you think that just dipping a couple of toes into these waters and tepidly, hesitantly marching forward with this because you're not really sure about the future, I would say don't even do it. Don't even get started with Sync if you're not fully invested. You're not fully going to go for it. You're not going to fully just jump in and give it your best 100% of your effort and time and focus. That is definitely where we're at in this career, in this industry, in the world. People that are, we'll see what happens. They're going to get, we'll see what happens results. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be impressive. You're not going to be happy with that, okay? So if you feel good about this, you feel strong, you feel like you've got something to offer, Just jump in and literally do your best to keep AI out of your mind. Don't worry about it. It'll take care of itself. I will certainly keep you guys updated. I will continue to make this promise. I made it 2 years ago. I made it last year. I'll make it right now again. If there's a day in the future where submitting music to production music libraries makes no more sense because AI comes in or something else happens where it's just not the right path anymore, and I don't feel that there's a viable path for anybody to really do well with this anymore, I will come on this channel and tell you guys that is over, it is done, and either we'll have to pivot if there's a new move or there's another strategy we can take, or maybe there's no more strategy in this current industry. That's a possibility. So I will be transparent with you guys. I will let you know. If and when that day comes, I will let you know. That day is not today. It has not happened yet, thankfully. So that's where I'm saying, if you're into this, you're ready to go, just jump in, double down. Now, for the rest of you that are not really convinced, not really sure, it's interesting, Sync is an interesting outlet for you, but you've been on the fence, you've had your concerns, maybe you've given it a shot for a little while and it's like, the results I'm getting are not really encouraging. I'm not feeling this and I don't really know if this is even really for me at all. If you see AI as the reason to just bail out and go like, it's too risky, the future's too uncertain, I got to just find something else. God bless you. Make that decision for yourself and just make it firmly and say, this is just not for me. I'm out. I'm going to go find something else. That is the right decision for you. You should not be wasting an entire year going towards a career if you don't really feel very strongly about it. You don't really feel very convinced that you've got some strong, a potential to actually, squeeze out some great profits out of this industry. If you don't really feel that, you're not really convinced of that, please don't jump into Sync Focus 2025. Don't get into Sync any further. And I wish you all the best. This is probably not the right channel for you. You should find something else that fits you better, that you feel more positive about the future, okay? So this AI thing is really just kind of, I see it as a fork in the road. It's kind of separating people. And that's probably for the best because you shouldn't be wasting your time in this business. And a lot of people do. A lot of people, just because they hear Sync can be more profitable, they don't really understand exactly what they're getting involved with, and they just throw an album or two at a library, then they sit on their thumbs and expect results to come in, and it doesn't. And I don't want you guys to be in those positions because I've seen that just not work out for countless producers over the years that I've been in this business and also been coaching you guys for the last 8 years here on the internet. So sorry for not much of a helpful update, but maybe some of that ending advice can help you guys out. Let me know where you guys are at right now. Have you become more concerned about AI in the last 6 months or 8 months since we talked about it on the channel? Have you just not worried about it anymore? I would like to get my finger on the pulse of where you guys are at, where you're emotionally with all this kind of stuff. Please leave your comments below. Nothing will be, deleted, censored. I want to know, if you feel like it's a black pill, you feel like the future is over and there's no hope, let me know about that. I want to hear about that. If you're unfazed and you're like, doesn't matter, I've been productive since the beginning, AI doesn't make a difference, I'm moving forward, let me know that as well. So please do keep this great conversation going on the channel.